Strange subcultures and fandoms have always existed, but in the last decade or so, the online horror community has really made its way into the mainstream. Insanely popular franchises like Five Nights at Freddy's, creepypastas like Slenderman and Jeff the Killer, ARGs like Petscop and Local 58, and creators like Nexpo and Nick Crowley have all helped to popularize the online horror genre. All of them, in their own way, explore and blend together analog horror, liminal spaces, lost media, and true crime into creepy, uncanny content that has drawn in fans by the thousands. In recent months though, a bizarre and gross phenomenon has spawned its own fandom within the horror community: biohazard supermarkets. Supermarkets that have been abandoned and left to literally rot, decaying meat and produce drawing in flies by the thousands and turning once beloved businesses into rotting hellscapes. But how did videos of abandoned, bug-infested supermarkets gain their own fandom, complete with fan cams, OCs, and fan fiction? Today, let's explore the bizarre phenomenon that is the biohazard supermarket fandom. Also, I won't be showing anything too graphic, but trigger warning for rot and decay as it relates to rotting abandoned supermarkets. I'll be having descriptions up and photos and videos and drawings. Like I said, nothing too graphic, but there definitely will be things in here that can be pretty gross, so fair warning. There will also be mentions of like rats and insects, so if you're squeamish about that stuff, just be careful. Now, let's begin. Before we continue, I just want to take a quick minute to thank the sponsors of today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for creators to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website and engage with your audience. With Squarespace's intuitive drag and drop editing, beautiful styling options, tons of visual design effects, and a whole library of templates, literally anyone can build an epic custom website to fit their needs. Not only can you sell products, but Squarespace makes it super easy to offer services and get paid all in one place. From consultations to events and experiences, you can attract clients and grow your business with Squarespace. And for that extra professional little touch, Squarespace Domains is a great way of giving your site a unique name. Every Squarespace domain comes with advanced privacy and security tools included to ensure that your domain remains online and protected. And Squarespace provides everything you need to bring more of your dream to life, whether that means building a website or adding a professional email service. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/izzies to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. A huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and now let's continue with the biohazard supermarket fandom. To understand the biohazard supermarket fandom, we have to go back to the incident that started it all: Mexia Supermarket. In 1999, residents of Fort Worth, Texas began to notice a horrible smell hanging around the neighborhood. While most true crime YouTube stories that start with a bad smell end up uncovering some sort of horrific crime, the culprit in this case wasn't a person, but instead a supermarket. The source of the smell was an unassuming local grocery store called Mexia Supermarket, and as health inspectors pushed the doors open, they had absolutely no idea what they were in for.
For this job, the guys who make their living ridding the world of pests need all the protective gear they can get. In 8 years, Brandon Bearden has seen his share of infestations, but cleaning up the Mexia grocery store...
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 15.
The smell is atrocious.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like it.
The stench was described by several investigators as the worst thing they had ever smelled. Aisles upon aisles of rancid meat covered in greyish black goo, warm, sour milk cartons that had expanded and exploded, produce that hadn't been eaten by rats was reduced to a mush. Rats, cockroaches, and maggots covered every surface, and there were so many flies in the air that workers couldn't even see their hands in front of their faces. Mexia was declared a health hazard, and a cleanup team was sent to clean and decontaminate the entire building, a huge task to say the least. What you're seeing on screen is real footage of the cleanup operation inside Mexia, and it really highlights why so many people became morbidly fascinated by it. The inspectors wear full hazmat suits and oxygen tanks, and in the dark, grainy footage, they almost look like astronauts exploring some strange, rotten alien landscape. Shots of dark, empty aisles that seem to stretch on forever, shelves of of blackened produce contrasted with bright peppy signage, and eerie shots of dark corners too grainy to make out invoke this creepy liminal feeling. How could a building that was once a bright, bustling local grocery store become so uninhabitable, so otherworldly? In late 2023, YouTubers Gubby and Blame It On Jorge included the incident in their internet horror compilation videos. It stood out among the more well-known Reddit mysteries and disturbing 911 calls since it had never really been covered on YouTube before and no one had seen anything quite like it. But Mexia wasn't just included in these YouTube videos because it was eerie. As the cherry on top, it was also a lost media mystery. Footage of the interior of Mexia was included in a documentary called Life After People as an example of what would happen to food supplies if humans went extinct. But aside from this short clip, all of the original footage of the incident was lost. If there's one thing the internet and especially the horror community loves, it's lost media. And so the Mexia incident became a huge topic of discussion within the lost media community, and amateur sleuths began hunting down any and all information they could find on the supermarket. Soon they began to piece together fragments of the story behind Mexia. After struggling financially, the owners were forced to shut the supermarket down. In most cases, the food inside would be disposed of or donated to a food bank, but for reasons unknown, there was a miscommunication and the electricity was shut off early. The shop was abandoned, and for 3 months the food was left to fester, attracting all kinds of insects and rats, until finally the smell became too overwhelming for nearby residents to ignore. This lost media element of the story gave the supermarket this sort of eerie analog horror vibe that fascinated and disgusted people, and it was soon covered by popular horror YouTuber Nexpo in 2024 as part of his Darkest Lost Media series. The video got over 3 million views, and suddenly Mexia was everywhere, with discussions spilling over onto TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter. People even filmed themselves visiting the store, which is now a Dollar General, to see if the smell was still there. As interest in Mexia grew, people began to dig deeper and discovered that it was far from the only biohazardous supermarket event, and this is where the rabbit hole really begins. While there are actually quite a few different supermarkets that have been abandoned and left to rot over the years, there are only 2 that really rival Mexia in terms of sheer scale and awfulness, one of those being Seafood City. Right off the bat, the fact that it's a seafood market means you know it's going to be really bad. In December 2022, so relatively recently, a Seafood City chain store in St. Louis, Missouri was ordered to close its doors due to several health code violations, which included mouse droppings by the walk-in freezer, raw shrimp being stored at unsafe temperatures, and a lack of sanitation or even hand washing facilities. Why the store was outright abandoned after this point is unknown, but what we do know is that the seafood inside was left to fester for over 6 months until residents began complaining about the terrible smell. A local crime scene cleanup unit was sent in to clear the mess, which, quote, smelled like death, once again donning full hazmat suits. One STL Today article describes one worker, Kristen Laurel, who had to take 3 showers to finally get rid of the stench that clung to her hair and clothes after she got home. The article also includes the hilarious detail that after a long, hard day at the Seafood City crime scene, she got home, sat down, and watched The Big Bang Theory. Some people are gluttons for punishment, I guess. The cleanup took several weeks and cost over $120,000. The constant news coverage drew locals to share their own experiences with Seafood City, which even before its abandonment were pretty gross. I watched a truck driver deliver seafood in a dry van trailer. A dry van trailer does not have a refrigeration unit equipped. Every time I went in there, it smelled. You could smell that place for miles. I had my sewer line checked because of the smell. I don't know who owns or runs the place across the street, but I wouldn't even eat canned goods from the store, and when I have walked through there, I've seen dead frogs and fish floating in the tanks. That last comment and several others on Facebook have accused the owners of moving across the street to open another fish shop, but as far as I can tell, this isn't true, or at least it's not substantiated, and what actually became of the owners is still unknown. Either way, your options in this town if you want to buy seafood don't seem great. The second biggest Biohazard Supermarket event involved a butcher shop called Bavarian Meat Products located in Ontario, Canada. Again, this being a purely meat-based supermarket, you know it's gonna be bad. For years, both customers and workers had reported unsanitary conditions at the store. One Redditor claimed that a friend recommended the store to them shortly before it shut, but they left without buying anything due to the unpleasant smell. Another alleged that health inspectors had been visiting the store before it shut down as they had rubbish bins right next to their delivery point. An ex-worker wrote, quote, "I used to work there back in 2014. It was a health nightmare back then too. I'm not surprised. We were made to package moldy, out-of-date meat. If it fell on the floor, they just said rinse it off. We would unpackage meat that was going bad, rinse the slime off, then repackage it. Management was a joke, just a bunch of assholes belittling the staff in front of customers." The reason for Bavarian Meat Products closure is still debated. Some claim that they were forced to shut down during COVID, while others argue that butchers were considered essential businesses, so it was most likely more health code related. Whatever the case, and for whatever reason, the shop was abandoned, and for 9 months, yes, 9 months, aisles and aisles of meat were left to rot and decay. Part of why it took so long is that the city had no jurisdiction within the building, so they basically had to bully the owners into taking action by airing constant news coverage about it. They removed 7 dumpsters full of mostly liquefied rotting meat from Bavarian Meat Products, and according to one Redditor who did pest control, there were tens of thousands of flies as well as, quote, buckets of maggots. While neither Bavarian Meat Products nor Seafood City had that same Y2K VHS lost media horror vibe that Mexia did, they turned what was originally thought to be one isolated incident into a recurring phenomenon. Driven by morbid curiosity and a growing sense of community, people quickly began finding and cataloging obscure biohazard supermarket incidents from all over the world. Biohazard supermarkets, in all of their rotten, contaminated glory, had become the sort of cool special interest, and it blew up even further when in early 2025, lost B-roll news footage of Mexia was finally located. In the wake of this discovery and the now several popular YouTube videos that had brought biohazard supermarkets into the spotlight, a fandom was born. In the early days, the fandom was most well known for digging up lost media and putting together these compilation TikToks with photos, videos, and information about different biohazardous events, but it didn't stay this way for long. This is a fandom we're talking about after all, and no fandom, no matter what it's about, is immune to OCs and fan art. Welcome to the world of rotten supermarket OCs.
But this shit has grown so fucking much that there's now a fucking fandom. And I mean a fandom. Somebody made a fucking Mexia Supermarket OC. The two most popular ones are Seafood City and Mexia, and people are shipping those bitches together.
Bavarian Meats x Seafood City x Mexia doomed Yowie. Yeah, I can't make this shit up either. I say, hiding away my Seafood City OC behind my back, who is femboy. I'm obsessed that I started developing a crush on Mexia. So yeah, there are a whole host of OCs based on rotten, decaying supermarkets filled with fish sludge and meat juice. There are no widely accepted canonical designs for any of these characters, as they're all drawn differently by different artists, but there are definitely certain traits and design aspects that I guess carry through or remain consistent throughout different designs. Let's go through some of the most popular biohazard supermarket characters, which will also give us a good excuse to dive a little deeper into the lore of some of the more obscure supermarket incidents. Mexia is almost always depicted as female, presumably because the name sounds more feminine, and dresses in yellow and dark green clothing as a nod to the store's colors. Mexia's closed sign has become this kind of iconic symbol within the fandom, so the character is often shown holding it. She's often covered in flies and insects, as shown here in this Mexia x Seafood City Yuri fan art, or more generally covered in mold and black sludge. She's also sometimes depicted as being wrapped in police tape, a nod to the original shutdown and police investigation. A common trait of many biohazard OCs is that they eat trash, moldy food, and discarded objects, with one TikTok showing a custom handmade Mexia doll being fed a moldy pear. While a lot of these OCs are more humanized, there are definitely more abstract horror monster-esque designs, like this one by Chi.031, which is described as smelling like 1,000 trash cans full of corpses and being the bringer of flies. Seafood City, unsurprisingly, is usually depicted as a sort of fish-human hybrid with scales, fins, claws, and gills. They're often shown to be damp or covered in water, with one OC by user Fuzz being the sort of mold-covered deep-sea diver. For all Biohazard supermarkets, but especially Seafood City and Mexia, hazmat suits and gas masks are popular ways to portray them. As previously mentioned, a popular ship within the fandom is Seafood City x Mexia, presumably just by virtue of the two being popular Biohazard events. On any piece of shipping artwork, there are usually tons of comments enthusiastically praising the ship and begging for more supermarket Yuri, which is honestly awesome. Bavarian meat products out of all the Biohazard OCs is generally the most consistent in terms of design and personality, and that's because he's depicted as a giant buff meat man. He's kind of a rude piece of shit who also stinks like rotting meat, but people in the fandom still find him weirdly sexy and constantly thirst after him. Hear me out on Bavarian meats. Wait, Bavarian meats kinda... As well as being covered in rotting meat, he's also often depicted as a butcher with a cleaver and apron, so he kind of overlaps with that sort of creepypasta sexy man archetype of the insane scary killer who's also a muscly bad boy. Outside of the big three, there are tons of OCs based on more obscure biohazardous events. For example, Sabina Bakery. Located in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Sabina Bakery was a beloved family bakery that had been around for over 30 years. However, in 2017, the store was left abandoned for 15 days, leaving the baked goods inside to go moldy and rot. Which, relative to the months and months that the big three were left to rot, isn't that bad, but it's still rotten food, so, you know, it wasn't pretty. As usual, cleanup crews were sent in to clean out the decaying food and exterminate the infestations of flies and rats. The cleanup crew also found graffiti on the walls by employees demanding that their wages be refunded. Sabina is almost always female, again likely due to the name, and tends to be the most typically feminine of all the supermarket characters. She's usually depicted either as a shy young woman, as shown here in this design by artist Shredded Cheese X, or a kindly older woman shown in this design by artist Pile of Crabs. She has this quaint, almost cottagecore design with aprons, skirts, and various shades of green, but instead of being like cute forest cottagecore greens, it's like different shades of mold. Joseph's By Right was a supermarket located in Bishop, California that was briefly closed for remodeling in May of 2018. However, all of the food inside was accidentally left to rot. I have no idea how you forget something like this or why it seemed to have happened so many times throughout history, but you know, I don't own a supermarket, so I can't judge, I guess. Neighboring businesses began complaining of a horrific smell consisting of rotting meat and stale bread, which wafted over from the buy right. The fruit fly and rat infestations were so bad that the other businesses had to set up rat and pest traps in their own stores. The Biohazard OC for the store is usually just called Joseph, and like Sabina, is often depicted as a kind older man. He's sort of like a grandpa figure within the fandom. He dresses in the store's colors, red and yellow, and due to the severe rat infestation, he's often shown with a pet rat sidekick. There are a few other obscure supermarkets that I want to cover, but I think it's worth noting that most of the fan art for them is just created by the same few people who are super active in the fandom. While these characters are absolutely canonical and still part of the Biohazard supermarket world, I just wanted to note that they are definitely more obscure and have less art, just in case you guys are wondering why I'm using like the same artist's art like over and over again. Sooner Market is a bit of a reprieve from all of the disgusting, gruesome Biohazard supermarket cases, as most of the food inside was pre-packaged. The channel Abandoned Atlas Foundation made a video exploring the building where they found unopened letters, store receipts, and near pristine cans still sitting in vending machines. Expiry dates on the food indicated that the store was abandoned around 2007, though you can see ads for yogurt on the walls and discarded milk jugs on the ground, confirming that there was indeed perishable food in the store. It never resulted in any kind of biohazard event. The video shows gross rotting cans and discarded packaging on the shelves, but the scale of the decay was nowhere near Mexia, Seafood City, or basically any of the stores with meat in them. Shredded Cheese 84's character design reflects this, being rusted instead of rotten and covered in bottle caps to reflect the shelves of bright soda cans inside the vending machines. Chouette's Market in Illinois was forced to shut down in 2018 after the owners just filed for bankruptcy, and at first it seems like this is your classic rotten supermarket event, but there is a slight difference. This time the pharmacy next door, called Family Care Pharmacy, was heavily involved. While the market next door festered, the smell of rotting meat wafted into the pharmacy, which was still open. The workers attempted to light candles and spray an unholy amount of air freshener, but obviously that didn't work. Pile of crabs designed to depict Schuetz as partially rotting, but attempting to cover the smell with air fresheners covering their arms and dangling from their ears. Chop Chop Chinese Takeaway, located in Canterbury in the UK, was shut down in 2023, and food was allowed to rot inside for over a month. Darren Bison, a member of the cleanup team, said, quote, "In 11 years, it's the worst job I have ever done. Where I was standing, there was just a pool of maggots, like a sea of maggots, and also there were flies." There is some very high definition graphic footage of the mess inside Chop Chop Chinese, which I'm not going to show too much of here because even with everything we've covered so far, it's pretty grim. Don't watch it if you're squeamish about bugs. This design by Shredded Cheese 84 is depicted as having rotten fly-covered noodles spilling out of a takeaway container for hair. She wears a crinkled old plastic bag with a smiley face and is infested with flies. Popeyes Brooklyn was shut down back in 2011 due to financial difficulty, and surprise surprise, all of the food was left inside. I'm sure you can guess what happened next. Shredded Cheese 84, and yeah, at this point Shredded Cheese 84 is just single-handedly carrying the fandom on their back, did a simple joke sketch of Popeyes, who was just depicted as like a stinky Popeyes worker, while artist TheatreBread13 did a more classic rendition with a gas mask and biohazard print apron. And lastly, the most controversial biohazard supermarket of all, the Fukushima supermarket. The Fukushima incident, for those who somehow don't know about one of the biggest disasters in modern history, occurred in Japan in 2011 when a magnitude 9 earthquake triggered a huge tsunami, which led to the shutdown of the Fukushima Daiichi power plant. This caused the worst nuclear incident since Chernobyl and led to the evacuation of over 100,000 people. So you have natural disasters causing mass destruction, the looming threat of unseen toxic radiation hanging in the air, and the sudden abandonment of entire towns. For the Biohazard Supermarket Fandom, this incident kind of ticks all of the boxes. Still, this one is kind of an odd one out for several reasons. It's not really one single Biohazard Supermarket event so much as it is several different supermarkets and shops that were involved in a much larger hazardous event. It's also the only Biohazard supermarket linked with a large number of deaths, which is why this one tends to be a little more iffy for some people. With a large cast of icky, slimy, yucky characters established, the fandom began to branch out and grow. Several Biohazard Supermarket cosplays have popped up online, including this Mexia cosplay and the Seafood City cosplay, which was shown off on stage at a convention. There's also this Mexia blanket we found that's just like a PNG of Mexia, and when asked where they got it, the original poster just replied, Shein. Damn, when you got the low quality merch on Shein, that's how you know you made it big. Another sign that the fandom is in the big leagues is that it's made it onto Roblox. Several fans have made Biohazard Supermarket themed avatars, and there's even a full recreation of Mexia.
Me and Bro has been hired to clean this supermarket.
This is so sour and moldy.
Bro, you're dead.
I feel bad. Agoo, my belly hurts. Help me.
Others are developing their own indie projects, from analog horror videos and games to animations and comics, and even fake 90s supermarket commercials. There are surprisingly only a few instances of fanfiction that I could find, one of them being a short doomed yaoi fic set in Mexia featuring Freddie Yeti and Mitchell Lynn from the dating sim Date Everything, which is not a crossover I expected, but maybe it's the one I need. The fic, even though short and yes, the premise is random, is still kind of devastating. All the characters from Date Everything are based on household items, so Freddy's character is based on a freezer and Mitchell's is based on food, so the whole fanfic is just them holding each other while they're left abandoned and dying inside Mexia. This is why I love fanfic, cause like, why is this so genuinely affecting? There's also this comment on the r/Fort Worth subreddit. I'm researching for a fic sent in 1998 in Fort Worth, and if anyone remembers the inside of Mexia before it shut shut down? Was it just a normal store? I'd like to know how to describe it. I have no answers for you from first-hand experience, unfortunately, but this is such a specific setting for a fanfiction. I have got to know what you're writing about if you're comfortable explaining, LMAO. Though the OP described the plot of their fic further down in the comments, I haven't been able to find it anywhere, so who knows if they actually ended up writing it or not. The popularity of the various biohazard supermarkets inspired tons of people to go and visit them, and while in most cases this just meant vlogging a trip to a new store that's been built on top of an old one to see if it still stinks, in other cases it meant some pretty dangerous urbexing. The stores that still remain up have been long abandoned and left to rot, leaving the building's structural integrity up to question, not to mention the, you know, biohazards. As a side note, I always see videos of people urbexing in just like their regular clothes with no masks, and it's like, what about the mold spores and asbestos that's everywhere? I feel like this is a situation where you should be trying to breathe the least amount of air, right? But again, I don't own a supermarket, so I have no place to judge. With tons of urban explorers trying to cash in on the biohazard supermarket trend, there's been a ton of lies, misinformation, and clout chasing. Several TikTokers and YouTubers have posted videos where they're exploring Mexia, but in reality they're somewhere completely different, usually either supermarket or just a random abandoned building. Obviously this isn't fooling anyone in the biohazard supermarket fandom, as it's pretty common knowledge that Mexia was demolished, but for more casual fans, they're definitely getting clickbaited. And because we live in hell world now, some people have created fake AI generated biohazard supermarket incidents, lazily trying to cash in on the trend. One infamous example was a TikTok account called SeltBoy1967 who created several terribly formatted, clearly fake incidents. In 2025, a local Tesco in Clarkston closed for renovations on February 3rd. Around March, the locals started smelling a horrible smell. It had gotten so bad there were reports of the smell in Airdrie, which is a mile or so away from Clarkston. Slide 1 shows the Tesco when it was open, and slides 2 to 4 showing the Tesco whilst being closed, and the only one image inside the Tesco showing the month-old meat, giving a glimpse of the infamous Mexia supermarket back in 1999. On April 4th, the local department issued a cleanup in the Tesco where it remains closed to this day. Jesus. Aside from the description, which is so badly written and lacking punctuation, I don't even think that an AI could have written it. The pictures are clearly either just taken from Google Images or awkwardly AI generated to add like caution tape or one solitary dude in a hazmat suit. He also made up fake incidents involving Aldi and Morrison's supermarkets with similarly terrible photos and descriptions. Shout out to his attempt at photoshopping a news story playing on TV. You almost got the image to line up. Viewers quickly caught on and his comment section was flooded. Me when I'm in a lying competition and my opponent is SeltBoy1967. Top 10 things that never happened. Holy AI. Hey ChatGPT, generate me an image of a Tesco supermarket with caution tape on it. Bro, this is biohazard farming. The comments got so bad that he announced that he was gonna stop posting, but it seems that he's once again back at it, posting fake disasters and incidents as if nothing happened. One of his latest posts is about a giant fire that destroyed a building in Scotland, with tons of kind of horrifying AI images of the building burning and collapsing and being left in a giant pile of rubble. He even made a fake newspaper article saying that hundreds of people died. This is so weird and creepy, and it really brings up this discussion of like fake AI generated true crime stories and disasters, which is honestly very disturbing and really its whole own can of worms, which I'd love to make a video on in the future. Let me know if you would be interested in something like that. Anyway, this guy sucks. Members of the Biohazard Supermarket fandom find these kinds of accounts incredibly annoying, not only for their lazy use of AI and Photoshop, but because they're muddying the waters, blurring the line between what's real and what's not. And for a fandom who has such a vested interest in researching and cataloging all of these events as accurately as possible, it's a huge annoyance. Humans are morbidly curious. There's a reason why true crime is such a huge genre, a reason that there are so many conspiracy theory books and TV shows about aliens and Bigfoots. Shout out to Mountain Monsters, the best show on TV, by the way. Horror content has always been popular online, from the earliest days of creepypasta to the Amnesia, Slenderman, Five Nights at Freddy's era of YouTube Let's Plays. But now more than ever, we're in an absolute horror golden age. Horror is one of the biggest genres of the box office right now. There are so many new horror games and ARGs coming out every month, and don't even get me started on all those like Survive 6 Nights at Sploingy's Roblox horror games. In the last few years, we've seen fandoms pop up on TikTok and other platforms for all kinds of strange, creepy things. Liminal spaces and the backrooms, submechanophobia and hydrophobia, true crime cases, colorful ponies getting sick and turning into zombies, and yes, biohazard supermarkets. The fandom seems pretty popular with young people, people in their tweens, teens, and early 20s. Many fans are queer and have been able to express and explore different aspects of their identity through designing biohazard supermarket characters. Supermarkets and restaurants are genderless and can be interpreted in endless creative ways. The topic itself is fascinating, mixing lost media, urban exploration, history, and horror, or at least dark, unsettling elements. It's no wonder that so many people, myself included, are so captivated by it. The fandom serves as a sort of safe haven for those interested in the macabre, the gross, the weird, a community free of judgment where instead of being shunned for liking something weird, they can meet others just like them. It makes sense that those who may feel like outsiders in society, whether because of their identity, age, neurodiversity, or something else entirely, would identify with themes like liminality, decay, abandonment, exploration and discovery, and even mortality. As for why biohazard supermarkets have become so popular so quickly, I think it's a combination of different things. A couple of years ago, there was this really big clean girl fashion trend. You know, every outfit had to be some like matching neutral coordinate with a slicked back ponytail, and your skin had to be perfect like glass. You get the idea. We were also still in this kind of clean design era where every company's logo had all the bold shapes and colors replaced with simple minimalist designs. Now all of a sudden every news outlet is posting about how the clean girl is out and the messy girl is in, how cluttercore and indie sleaze are the new thing, how art and design is trending more sharp and grungy after years of sleek minimalism. This is coming after years of societal pressure to conform to this more traditional squeaky clean perfect style, so it's no wonder that people are pushing back and rebelling. And this rebellion against the status quo isn't just coming in the form of like messy eyeliner and listening to Charlie XCX as the images in these articles would have you believe. It's coming out in more extreme forms. Fascination with decay, disease, and infection shown in the various infection AUs that have found popularity on the site, as well as tons of different aesthetic cores based around gross, visceral subjects. Toxic core, weird core, trauma core, older brother core, even just the idea of bed rotting. There was even a trend where people showed rotting, moldy, or just generally gross items in their bedroom set to the song Come to the Land of the Lost and Lonely, which was certainly a trend. In 2024, TikTok was obsessed with malware, with videos showcasing various viruses and computer infections, including iconic ones such as the I Love You virus and the Y2K bug. Much like the Biohazard Supermarket Fandom, these videos blended a fascination with infection and disease with Y2K and 90s nostalgia. Many of these videos, as well as those in the Biohazard Fandom, contain images of creepy liminal spaces and are paired with nostalgic or creepy sounds like the one in this video. They evoke this unique blend of both unsettling and comforting that you can't help being captivated by. It's nostalgia, but nostalgia for things that are imperfect, even unpleasant and gross at times. We live in such a manufactured, sterile environment a lot of the time these days that I think a lot of people are yearning for a simpler time, and a time that was grimier and messier. The stench of stale nachos and energy drinks in your brother's room, the smell of plastic and sweat and grease in the ball pit of a restaurant, the scent of mothballs and moldy fabric in a musty caravan from your childhood. In the digital world, think messy, eye-strainy, blingy graphics sparkling all over the page, old neon web pages filled with GIFs and clutter, the stomach-churning fear of downloading a virus onto the family computer and helplessly watching on. These are all, in their own way, forms of unfiltered and unpleasant nostalgia. The Biohazard Supermarket Fandom and other fandoms like it explore what happens when we forget, when things things rot and wither away and what's left behind after it does. It flies directly in the face of this perfect, clean aesthetic that's been pushed for so long and not only confronts us with rot, death, and decay, but the existential feelings that come with it. In the fandom, people are free to research and explore and talk about these almost taboo topics with others who are similarly fascinated, and for many it's not only liberating but really fun as well. Obviously, there are haters who find the fandom off-putting and gross and leave comments about how it's cringe and lame and that people who like it need to shower, but I think embracing the darker side of nostalgia is so endlessly fascinating, and I think that the Biohazard Supermarket fandom has tapped into it in such a unique and gross way that it'll continue to fascinate people for years to come. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I really hope you liked that video topic. I find the Biohazard Supermarket fandom so interesting. I find the rise of like these horror fandoms specifically on apps like TikTok where these kind of clean aesthetics are very popular. It's such a contrast, and I think it's just so endlessly interesting. If there are any other fandoms kind of like it that you've seen maybe on the rise or that I just have never noticed, I guess, definitely leave them below. They're such a unique internet phenomena that I just love and I find so interesting, so let me know. Also, shout out to all of the artists that I featured in this video. There were tons of like fan artists and animators, creators who have made content for the Biohazard Supermarket fandom, and it's all awesome, so you should definitely check them out. Anyway, thank you so much. Also, thank you for the feedback on my last video where I just moved to the setup and I was like way too close to the camera. I was working out some like spacing issues with this whole setup, but I'm further back now and hopefully it looks okay. Thank you so much, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye! A huge thank you to my Garfield overlords over on Patreon. Benz, Node Armstrong, Mrs. Sylve, Booskaboo, Mazapan Eating Duck, Leopold the Rabbit, Tony Terras, Woljix, Sophie Jane Dewberry, Eminem, Usurpius, Trouser Mouse, Ocean Gremlin, Curvish Sundown, Bunzo, Blogbag, Zoe Mars, Eden Cassidy, Magdalena, Kia J. Parker, Hazy, Stanley, Blue Wolf, Katrina Likes 5e Stuff, Michelle Olsen, Matt LRJ, A Riddle Wrapped in an Enigma Hidden by a Question Mark, Doug, Dana Homegardener, Simon, Xavier Rajo, Samarie Brayley, Helm Hamburger Hand, Dozo Blint, and Jesse Chisholm. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. If you want to join these guys over on Patreon, the link will be in the description. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye!